Mic check, mic check. Can you hear me okay? Rick Shark, welcome in. What's up, Rico? Ed, yep, let's have a great week. DK, I'm doing well. Thank you for asking. Aubrey, welcome in. Matt, what's up, what's up? Juice, that's right. Happy Sunday. The weekend is literally the best time for analysis. Let's go ahead and get started. To everybody else, hello and welcome in. My name is Gates and I am not a financial advisor, contrary to popular belief. Today I'm going to be giving you my trading plan for tomorrow and as well as for the rest of the week. So what I'm going to review today or tonight, depending on your time zone, this does not serve as financial advice, all right? All mentions, everything that I'm talking about in this stream, it's just my opinion. It's just my plan. So feel free to take notes if you want to, but just make sure that you're adjusting at your trigger levels to market conditions in the morning, following any potential gap ups and gap downs, and make sure that you're always doing your own due diligence. For those of you that are new to these streams, here's the deal. I'm going to break down my top stock picks for tomorrow. If you've been following me on any social media platform, you know that I've been doing this 5K challenge. We're almost complete with that. We're almost finished with that. These stocks that I'm putting out tonight, this is literally my trading plan for tomorrow. So this is what I plan to make money on come tomorrow morning. So if you're new to any type of technical analysis, it's probably going to be beneficial to you to subscribe to the channel. Watch some of my older YouTube breakdown videos. Take notes if you have to. I'm going to be talking about some setups that have potential for the rest of the week, for later on in the week. We're going to call those side charts. Those are known as side charts, where they're not necessarily setting up for tomorrow, but they do have potential for the rest of the week. And then at the end of the stream, I will be taking charting requests. I really like doing that. I like working with you all on your charting requests. I know sometimes I can be a little bit critical of your analysis, but I think that that's probably the best way to learn. Sometimes you guys present me with some awesome ideas that, giving me a perspective on some stocks that I hadn't seen before. That's great, right? As a solo trader, like, you're not going to be able to catch every opportunity that's presented in the market. So whenever we do that charting request portion of the stream, I find myself getting impressed with especially some of you that have been tuning into these streams. I find myself being impressed by some of your analysis. You're really picking this stuff up. Okay. Let's get into the watch list. Press the like button. Welcome in to everybody once again. Show me some love. Let's get started. The first one on our watch list for tomorrow is going to be NIO. N-I-O. N-I-O. NIO. So this is the daily chart time frame. All right. All of this analysis that I'm doing will be on the daily chart. I always will start on the daily chart. Sometimes I glance at the weekly chart, but I like to start on the daily because it gives me the overall picture of what's going on with the stock. Is it uptrending? Is it downtrending? What's going on with this? So up until recently, NIO had been making these lower highs. There's your high, there's your lower high, and there's another lower high. And then it just broke that trend, creating a higher high where it kind of formed this resistance point, pulled back to test it as support, and then got large volume here on a pop move up. So NIO is actually trading on news, and that news is going to be the European expansion. I'll let you look into that on your own time, but that was basically the cause of this pop move. You could go a little further and say that, this to me looks like a bull flag pattern, right, which would be valid. So that would be your bull flag pattern. By the way, that's your flagpole. There's your flag. That's occurring on lower volume, and then you get the pop move, the breakout, the new high on higher volume. I mean, that's partially due to the news, but it's a good way to do like your cross analysis. This is where technicals, where the bull flag meets the fundamentals, right? The news came in. So what we're looking for on NEO is just a simple continuation play from here. I believe that over $46, which was a resistance back here in the past, over $46, this has room to run to $50. But it may not make that type of move in one day. So what we're looking for is just to split that difference between 46 and 50 and say 48 will be price target 1. That's going to give us a little bit over 4% profit margin from 46 up to 48. Any sizable move is, anything around 2% is good to take profits on. So we're just looking for a simple continuation play here on NEO, right? So a long idea over 46. Now, this may change in the morning if NEO decides to gap up to 48, right? Don't just assume that because it opens over 46 that it's good to go to buy right at the open. If that's the case, if gap ups occur, you have to consider the risk to reward. Does it have more of a chance to pull back at open and then recover? Or does it have more of a chance to do what's called a gap and go, where it gaps up and then just opens and runs immediately and goes green? In both scenarios, you really don't want to be chasing the move. So just keep, kind of sensible logic in mind. If it opens over 46, that's not the green light to just buy this thing, all right? Make sure you're adjusting your trigger levels as you see fit. So here's how I'm going to work it. Because this is a continuation play idea, whatever the pre-market high winds up being will likely be my new trigger level. So as of right now, it's just set at 46, but let's say it opens up near 47. Well, I'm just going to slide this up $1, 47. That's not too bad, because we still have a 2% profit margin up to 48, right? By the way, there is a slight gap here. It's not super relevant, but it is there. So right over 40, just over 47 up to like 47.6. Just something to keep in mind. Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's super relevant because it's not like a massive gap, but it is a gap nonetheless. All right. So that's the first one on our watch list for tomorrow, NIO. By the way, if you're just joining into the stream, welcome in. What I'm doing is breaking down my entire trading plan for tomorrow and then probably for the rest of this week as well, right? I'm going to talk about some side charts, and then we're going to take some chart requests at the end. Number 2 on the watch list for tomorrow is Snapchat, SNAP. Again, I'm on the daily chart time frame. I'm going to take a look at this and just see, where are we trading in relation to the next level of support and resistance. I'm going to draw a trend line right there at $64. Do you see how, well, this is probably easier to do. Okay, do you see how this resistance line has been hit a bunch of times there, once there, or a few times there, a few times there, a few times here, and a few times here, right? This is a strong level of resistance taking place over 1, 2, 3, 3.5 months, maybe 4 months, arguably. Okay, so we're looking at about 4 months of consolidation within this range, with support being down here. So this type of range is a long-term range, right? The longer that a pattern shapes up on a larger time frame, such as the daily and weekly chart, the longer that this shapes up, the larger your breakout move will potentially be. So this stock is currently trading right at this resistance level after consolidating for a long period of time and is forming what's called a cup and handle formation, which is a bullish breakout pattern. So what I'm looking for going into tomorrow is not necessarily a break over the $64 price point, because we kind of got that already. Let me move to the 5-minute chart time frame. You can see this a little more clearly. Okay, the high of day was right at 65.07. So what I'm going to do is move that trend line up to 65 because it's already right at $64. So if this is truly going to break out and continue to run, what we need to see happen is 64 has to validate as a level of support, and we've got to see a break over 65. Ideally, I would like to see a break over 66. I would really like to see this open up closer to 66 because of these three wicks. This wick, and then this wick right here. Those three levels are still relevant as a resistance point. That's not to say that a trade can't be taken from 65 up to 66, but it's just something to keep an eye on. I think if Snapchat can get over 66, there's room to run up to 68, 70, and then maybe even 72, right? But we're going to take it one step at a time. Has to validate 64 as a support. Needs to open up over 64. We're going to set our trigger level at 65 and look for the continuation move from here, right? So Snapchat is number 2 on the watch list for tomorrow. This is a cup and handle formation on the daily and a larger range shaping up here between $48 and $64. So it'll be a range break, a cup and handle break, and hopefully we get some follow through on a breakout. All right, the next one on the watch list for tomorrow is INTC. Intel. I'm going to have to back this up to the weekly chart time frame to kind of give you an idea of how strong this resistance point is that we're currently trading at. Right, so this is a trend line drawn off of. So remember, I'm on the weekly chart time frame. This is a trend line drawn across the peaks of this run here, and then where this run started to meet some resistance, then validated as support, and it's kind of where we're currently trading at right now. All right, so back to the daily chart time frame. This is kind of cross time frame analysis here. We're going to identify this gap area where it had an earnings gap down from, what is this, 62.3 down to 60. So we're going to identify that gap area. All right, and then we're going to look on this chart what are our EMAs doing? What is our 50 EMA doing? What is our 200 EMA doing? Those are both relevant EMAs on the daily chart time frame. The 200 EMA is acting as a support, while the 50 EMA is acting as a level of resistance. This is a lot of consolidation right here, and it seems like it's really trying to hold up over this 200 and break over this 50. All right, so I'm going to slide this 59 level down to 58, that trend line right there. And we've got a couple of things going on here. If we get a break of $58, we would then have a break of all of that consolidation right there, and we'd have a new high being made. So that's one thing. The second thing that we would have a break over 58, we'd likely get a break over that 50 EMA, which has been a level of resistance pretty much during this whole consolidation period. If those two things occur, then I think that this has potential to run up to the bottom side of this gap area, which puts us at $60. All right, so remember that gap areas, if you don't know this already, gap areas act as points of support and resistance as well, both sides of the gap, meaning the $60 level is probably going to be a resistance. If it breaks over 60, it can probably act as support, and that's going to put your resistance, let's just say 62. That'll put your next resistance at 62. We'll just make it easy on ourselves. All right, so I'm watching INTC here for a break of 58 and a move over. This is not typically one that makes my watch list on a normal basis, but I do think that at the very least, this deserves to be on at least my side chart. So for this pattern, for this breakout to remain valid, for it to continue to have my interest, it needs to hold 57 as a support. So if it opens up below 57 or near 57, it's going to be less enticing for me to want to take this play, and what I'd probably do is just set an alert at 58 and wait for the break. But if it opens up at 58 or near 58 or over 58, it's probably going to be one of my top watches. All right. Remember, the longer that a stock consolidates on the daily chart time frame or the weekly chart time frame, the larger the breakout move could be. All right, the next one on the watch list for tomorrow will be Workhorse, WKHS. I actually kind of have a pattern drawn out here. I was going back and forth on this a lot because, well, I was like, is this, it's, patterns are so subjective. It's kind of crazy how, like, I could draw something and make it look valid, and somebody else could draw something or draw something similar and make it not look valid. So patterns are really kind of in the eyes of the beholder. I was going back and forth on this, and I was like, I can't tell. Is this a bull flag? It certainly has lower volume here. I like that it's holding 15 as a support. It does actually almost look like a cup and handle, doesn't it? Right, where the resistance is clearly at 18 or in this area. So resistance, and then your second point of resistance and the pullback. If we look to the 5-minute chart time frame, I mean, this downtrend is pretty clear here. So maybe we get a move where we're breaking this downtrend trend line, kind of how we got on PTON, right? So if I drew a downtrend trend line that looked like that, there's your break over and run, right? Let's look at NEO. Similar situation. Downtrend trend line, right? There's your break and run. And this is the 5-day, 5-minute chart time frame. So what does Workhorse have right now? The downtrend trend line, but no break and run yet. So that's kind of what I'm looking for. Plus, there's been, Workhorse has kind of been thrown around in the community as something with, I guess it's part of the meme stock craze right now. So I mean, there's big potential. Even, I mean, you could just look at the daily chart. Look at this, all of this room right here that this has to run. Up and over, what, 18 or 20? There's tons of room for this to move back up towards 28, maybe even $30. There's a gap overhead. I mean, this wasn't, it wasn't too long ago that this was trading at those levels previously. So it's something to really keep an eye on, especially if it gets over 18. But for right now, we want to see it kind of break this downward momentum that it's been having. So what I do like is that it's validating 15 as a support. So what we have, and I guess in essence then, is something that kind of looks like that maybe. Something's got to give, right? And this pump right here, this volume right here, that has it really on radar for me. So I'm watching this over 16 tomorrow. A break over 16 would also give us a break over, or likely give us a break over that 200 EMA on the daily, which would be the first time that it's traded over that in another, what, 3.5, 4 months here. So break of 16, price target of probably just $17, maybe ultimate price target of 18, and then we'll see from there. If it breaks 18, we'll reevaluate, has room to 20, and then above that, who knows where this thing can go. All right, so break over 16 as of right now is what we're setting on Workhorse. So a quick review, by the way, if you're just joining in, I'm talking about my trading plan for tomorrow. I've talked about NEO having a bull flag on the daily. I've talked about Snapchat forming a cup and handle on the daily, as well as trading within or right at the resistance of that big range. INTC also forming a range on the daily. We're looking for a break over 58. And then Workhorse, right? We're looking for the break over 16 here, and we'll see what happens. I think that all of these plays present some decent potential. Remember that as a day trader especially, you don't need to be in all of these trades. Just go through them on your own time and identify which setups that you like the best. Pick one or two of those setups and watch it like a hawk, because what happens when you're trying to day trade and you're flipping through a ton of charts, like you just miss entries. If you feel like you miss a pump, you probably missed the pump, right? Don't enter on FOMO, don't chase the move up, but don't give up on the play, because a big move doesn't usually happen without some sort of retracement. You might have to sit there an extra 15 or 20 or 30 minutes for it to retrace, but I mean, you can get a dip entry on larger moves like that. If anything, that larger move is just giving you validation that your analysis, your original analysis, was correct. So don't let something like that deter you. Let it motivate you. Hey, I was right on my analysis. This stock is going awesome. Let me look for a dip entry somewhere. Not, let me try to find the next stock that could break out because I already missed this one. Don't give up on the plays. All right, I'm going to talk about some side charts. While I'm doing that, feel free to post up in the chat section anything that you want me to review. Just one request, please, no penny stocks. I don't trade penny stocks. I don't really like doing analysis on penny stocks, so I ask that you don't call out penny stocks. Also, no random stocks either. Like if you call out a stock, try to put some analysis behind it. Give me a sentence or two why you think that that stock has potential. Maybe a resistance point or a support point, something, right? Just makes for better conversation, helps, and it helps me and helps others understand why you're even calling the stock out in the first place. All right, speed round. Here's our side chart watch list. These only require you to set an alert and kind of forget about it until that alert goes off. Number one is PLTR. All right, so it's not really giving you a whole lot right here. This, I wouldn't consider this a range because the support isn't very clear. It's just kind of chopping around. So keep your alerts set at, you see I had 2 alerts set over here. I actually have a bunch of alerts set overhead, but I have 2 alerts set very close to $25. I want to know if PLTR is breaking 25 because this one, much like Workhorse, it does offer a lot of potential here on a recovery move if it can get some momentum behind it. So I like PLTR over 25 this week, but it's not giving us a setup right now where it looks like it's going to break 25 and go. Now this can change in the morning, and this is the thing about side charts. Don't sleep on these side charts and these alerts because they can easily be something that makes our main chart watch list. But what you want to see, if you're going to put this on your main chart, is you want to see it open up right under 25. Not over it. You want to see this gap up and open up right underneath it. Because that way, if you get what's called a gap and go play, this should open up, go green, break 25, and then pull back to test 25 as a support. That'll be like the exact scenario that I'm looking for on PLTR tomorrow. And if that happens, you can better believe I'll be taking an entry on it. All right. But you know, there's no play here as of right now until it breaks $25. That's kind of what I'm getting at with these side charts. SQ, another one that has been forming a range on the daily. We got that break of the range on Friday. I actually posted this on Twitter for everybody and took the trade myself, but man, those contracts were moving fast. All right, here's the deal. It did break the range. It did close outside of the range, you know, closing over the $218 level of resistance. But the only thing is that it kind of hit the 50 EMA and top wicked down, which looks bearish to me and not necessarily bullish. But this can easily reverse. I mean, it's SQ, right? And this may have potential to open up near $225 or so. So that's where your alert should be set at for SQ. I'm watching this over 225. I want to see if it can truly validate these lows at 200 as a support and begin to make higher lows instead of the same low, right? So this might be our first higher low where you have a rally, a pullback. So there's your low. This would be your higher low. Now we want to see our higher high be made. We need to have 225 break and a run to probably 230. That would be the ideal scenario this week for SQ. So keep alerts at 225. Apple. Oh my gosh, Apple. Yeah, this thing, I've tried to trade Apple over 128 like I don't know how many times. I'm pretty sure I've been watching Apple at 128 ever since like way back here, right? Which was almost a month ago. So it's just unable, like it's breaking 128, but it's really unable to close over 128. And it keeps doing this thing where like it looks like it's rejecting, but then it pulls right back up. What's interesting though, look at this formation that I have drawn out here on Apple on the daily. This is a big kind of ascending triangle shaping up without regard to that top wick there. And so if this trend line does hold true, then we should be getting a move on Apple here soon back to the top side. The first step to getting that move though is that this thing's got to get over 128. There's no play. There's absolutely no play here for me until Apple gets over 128. And it's one of those stocks that you might want to have market backing on when you're trading. So watching something like SPY or for /ES, going green and breaking resistance, that's kind of the day that you may want to be paying attention to Apple, especially if it's moving over 128. All right. Let's see. If this doesn't break this week, I mean, gosh, man, this is like the resistance from, I don't know, strongest point of resistance ever. AMD. Here we go. AMD is unable to break 82 at the moment. It is really ranging though. So support's going to be around $80. Resistance at 82. Very easy to trade this. You're just looking for a break of this range. So if you're a short bias trader, you could place an alert below 80 and short it below 80 if it fails to validate it as a support. But me, as a long bias trader, I'm really only looking for the breakout. So I have my alert set just a little over 82, right around 82.20 or so. And I plan to play this to the top side if it can get there. I don't see this breaking out tomorrow because it's still within the range. Now, if it opens up closer to 82, there is potential. But as of right now, I don't see much here. Two more, and then I'll get to your requests. Twitter should come as no surprise. I've been alerting this for 2 weeks now. This is a big gap. There's still a big gap here. From 61 up to 64, the gap is still relevant. It's been partially filled. The only thing is that Twitter's not been giving us like a directional pop move. We've been trading Twitter actually since it was way down here, right? So we caught this pop move. We've kind of been trading it on the way up. But now it's doing this thing where it's like slowly grinding up and filling the gap, which is slightly annoying because, I just want to see one directional move on this thing where it pushes up, fills the gap, and then and then that's the play. So these little grind moves up, it's kind of makes it annoying to trade, but nonetheless, it's still worth noting because the profit margin is there. So long idea over 61 for the gap fill. Provided that it gets up there. And I'm going to keep alerting this, by the way, as long as it's moving up. Until it rejects and comes down or fills the gap, this thing will be put out by me constantly. One more, Tesla. I have absolutely no bias on Tesla right now. I think it's getting to the point where it's going to be a make or break move from here. So this is... I guess this pattern can really kind of be extended like that, but that might be a bit of a stretch. What's most relevant is that we have a couple of things going on here. So it's making lower highs and it's making higher lows, most recently, right? But if we're looking at this in the grand scheme of things, this could be considered what's known as a double bottom play, where the expected move would look something like that. Now that's provided that it holds this 200 EMA as a support. But if we're going to really kind of dumb this down, the only thing that we should be paying attention to in this area is this whole number at 600, right? So we just draw a trend line right there. This makes it very, very simple for us. We could be bullish on this stock as long as it holds over 600 and bearish as long as it holds below it. So I'm going to remain patient on Tesla and let this kind of dictate the direction from here. I don't have any interest in trading it as long as it's kind of chopping around. I put it on the watch list a few times last week because I thought that we were going to get the directional move then. And, we never really got the expected move that we were looking for. So it's getting close to making a move, in my opinion. I think that's maybe, if not this week, sometime next week, we will see a directional move on this thing. And once that happens, my plan is to trade the direction. So I'd like to see it over maybe 620 or 630 to take it long. Whereas, if it failed to hold 600, if it's below like 580 or 570, that's where my alerts are set down here. I would look to short it below that 200 EMA. All right, so no play on this until it breaks, but I just wanted to put it on your radar. Oh, By the way, we talked about ZM last week in our live stream, and you know, I was talking about how this was a falling wedge there. So congratulations to those that wound up taking this trade, right? Remember we were talking about it over 340, and it got there. It got the break move, up and over 350, and I mean it really ran. From here, it might need a little bit of a pullback, but there might be some momentum behind this thing here. A lot of kind of volume there. Anyways, let's get into your charting requests. All right. Juice is saying SPCE on the daily. So let's pull up SPCE. Whoops. SPCE on the daily looks like the same bull flag holding 35. Yeah, the only thing about SPCE is that, all right, okay, I agree. First of all, it does kind of look like it's it could be forming a bull flag here, especially because like this old resistance at 34 is trying to validate as new support right here. So if we flip to the 5-minute chart time frame, what we have is that this is what he's talking about. You have that same downward trend line across the tops of these candles, and then the same kind of flat line of support here, which means that the next expected move, if it were to break out, would look something like that, right? So I do 100% agree with you. The only thing about SPCE that I don't necessarily like is the fact that it's moved up so much from these lows, from like a percentage standpoint, that it might need a longer period of time to consolidate. Right? Look at the percentage gain from these lows. 139%. So just something to be mindful of. All right, Gray said HAE. So let's pull up that stock. I've never really looked at this before. Broke the downtrend, had a big gap down for COVID, as everyone postponed surgeries. Yeah, you know, I don't know anything about HAE, so I'm gonna back this up to the weekly chart time frame, and I want to go max available just so I can see all of the price action. All right, so it was up here for quite some time, so it looks like $80. If we're trading here, $80 on the way back up is probably your resistance point. This area was obviously a resistance, so it does make sense that it would kind of validate as support. Plus the $50 whole number is right there, so let's just move this up to 50 and call it even. So we'll back that down to the daily chart time frame. Looks like it tested 50 almost perfectly, and it is curling in this area. From a day trade perspective, I mean, I don't know. Let me look at the 5-minute chart. There's not a whole lot of volume here, so I would just be careful, right? And anytime when you see stocks like intraday making these little dash moves like this and gapping up and down, we're on the 5-minute chart time frame here. So this can be dangerous because this is kind of like it's algorithmic trading. There's not a lot of volume here, right? There's just computers moving this. So you need to be careful if you're in a position, because this could like gap up like that, which is great, I guess, if you're in a position, but it could also do the same where it gaps down. So just be very careful if you're day trading something like this. Yeah, I mean, you have like a whole 5 minutes here where the price action, it just didn't move at all. This to me seems like it would be one of those maybe hype stock reopening names. If what you're saying is true, it's something to do with surgeries and everybody postponing surgeries because of COVID. I mean, it makes sense, right? So as a reopening play, if that's what this is, then it makes sense that this would be recovering as the world is reopening. I don't know if that's true. I don't know anything about this stock, and I haven't done any research on it. But you know, if that's the case, just from a logical standpoint, it does make sense. From a technical standpoint, it looks okay too, right? I guess if you're looking for a rebound, like this thing is really, really low. it's fallen let's see here, percentage wise, 57%, so it's down right now about 50% or so. Oh, okay, I could have did that in my head, quick math, but yeah, you know, I just want to caution you, as a day trader, just be careful of the low volume intraday. That's all. Let's talk about Pinterest. I see a couple of people mentioning Pinterest, so we'll give that one a go. P-I-N-S. So one person is saying that pins on the daily chart is approaching the earning gap area. What do I think of it? And then Rolo is saying that Pinterest is on watch for a swing. Gap fill above, support at 65.5, currently above the 50 and 200 EMA. Yeah, I agree, 100%. Pinterest would absolutely be a gap fill play if it got there. As you see, my alert is already set at $70, so you're both correct on your analysis there. Good deal, right? Keep your alerts set on your charts for a break of 70 on Pinterest, and you know, you might get a gap move there. Let's see, percentage wise, yeah, there's plenty of room here. Over 7% profit within this gap area if it gets the run over. Yeah, you guys know what I'm talking about with these plays. I know some of you have been following me for quite some time, so you know the setups and criteria that I kind of look for. I mean, this is absolutely one of them, right? Pinterest is definitely one of them. Hence my alert already being set at 70. Good deal. Let's talk about Fiverr, FVRR. So Zach mentioned this one and said that the daily had a golden cross. Okay, so I don't see the golden cross happening on on the daily chart time frame because let me see here. Yeah, I don't see that. 50 and 200 EMA are pretty close, but the 50 right now is over the 200 still. So I don't know how a golden cross could occur. At any rate, you're saying it's a cup and handle looking bullish over 240. Over 240. Long over 210. Okay. So basically, I get what you're saying, I think. This bit of consolidation right here, well, not really consolidation, but it is lower highs, can be treated as a level of resistance. So you're saying that if it breaks 240, essentially it's gone from making these lower highs to, at that point, making higher highs, right? You're absolutely correct. As of right now, 210 is a level of resistance. It's having a hard time crossing over that price point. It's still trying to figure out what it wants to do over the 50 EMA. And over 210, I actually, you know what, I think I would be careful and just set your alerts at like 213. Usually I would say that those wicks aren't relevant, but in this case, I think that they are because there's two of them here, right? It's not just one wick that's pushed up. It's two of them to the same exact price point. So I would maybe set an alert at 213 instead, just to be extra safe, and then play it up to that level. But from a day trading perspective, you know, as an options day trader, I don't think that this has very, you know, super favorable contracts. Yeah, so like the OI, the open interest is kind of low here for me. All right, let's talk about, somebody said Boeing has a, okay, this is interesting. Boeing has a bull flag. So this is what the member is saying. Boeing has a bull flag on the daily and has been forming a massive ascending triangle since the COVID sell-off. Could have room to the top of the range and maybe test 300. Okay, let's go off of the bull flag thing here first of all. To me, this is not really I wouldn't consider this a bull flag. The shape is correct, yes, right? The shape is correct. I see what you're talking about. That being a bull flag, the shape is there. But for a true bull flag to be formed, I mean, this is kind of like a lot of selling right here, right? Even on bullish news, it had some selling pressure come in. I think that Boeing has just made too much of an extended move from 220 all the way up to 260. Remember, it had 4 gap ups, 1, 2, 3, and 4 on the way up. So this pullback right here is like totally expected. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised to see this maybe pull back and fill this gap as well, right? So to say that this is a bull flag, I think the shape is there, yes, but I don't think that this is just like a minor pullback for a bull flag, right? Something like that, you would want to see maybe 3 or 4 candles pulling back, not like a bunch of kind of chopping around here. As for your ascending triangle, let me go back. I mean, I have to check the weekly chart. To be honest, I don't see it here either. I don't see the weekly, or I don't see the ascending triangle on the, you said it's a massive one too, but for an ascending triangle to be ascending, you have to not only have higher lows, but you want to have a flat top level of resistance that's been tapped multiple times. So this is not flat top resistance. You have a high, a higher high, a higher high, and a higher high, which almost puts this in an upward channel as opposed to an ascending triangle. A good example of an ascending triangle could be found on Chewy on the daily chart time frame, where you do have that same level of resistance being tapped multiple times, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, with the exception of a couple of little peaks over. And you do have those higher lows being formed on the way up. Apple, we also said, was an ascending triangle on the daily. Big ascending triangle, right? Same level of resistance has been tapped multiple times, with the exception of one little break over, and definitely is making higher lows. Now, if we flip to Boeing, I don't see that, unless you're trying to consider this area right here, the ascending part. Which I agree is resistance, but I don't know at this point if that's truly ascending. So I do have alerts set over 260. I'm ready for it. I don't see a trade here though until it breaks 260. That would be like, it doesn't matter, I guess, what all of the other technicals are. I don't think that Boeing is necessarily looking bullish just because of how fast it ran up. I think, yes, you're correct. Long term, it does have room to push back up to 300. I totally agree with that. As for a day trade, from a day trade perspective though, this to me looks almost more bearish, right? If I was a short bias trader, I would be putting this on my watch list as a short below the low of day here for a gap fill down. So no play on Boeing from me until it breaks 260. Make sure you might want to keep your alerts set there. All right, let's talk about PayPal. Yeah, PayPal was this one paid us last week. Almost the same deal as Snapchat. Really reminds me of the Snapchat chart, where it's had this wider range being formed. Almost looks like a cup kind of shaping up here. But yeah, resistance is very clearly placed at 275 or so. It's at 271.50 at the current moment. Yes, we got our breakout of this range right here at 265. We were able to take that trade on this particular day for a solid move. And since then, it's validated a break of that range and has started to move up. So what are you saying here? Break of 280 for a run to 300. Perfect. Great. I like that you did not say a break of whatever it's currently at, because if you did, I was going to tell you resistance is right here and the profit margin's not there. But what you're saying is you're playing it safer, and saying a break of 280 above all of this price action. I don't mind waiting. A break of 280 probably sends this up to 300. I totally agree. right? I 100% agree. That was posted by Fax LF, looking for a break of 280 on PayPal. Great. Yeah, 100% agree with this analysis. In fact, I'm going to set an alert there because I don't have mine set yet. Nabil, we've already talked about ZM. I think that it has potential to continue, but where it's at right now, it's kind of made a larger breakout move. I would expect a pullback early this week, and then if it were to continue, look for it to find some support somewhere before it reverses. Darshak is saying MCD above 238 keeps making new highs on an uptrend. It runs $2 to $3 in the morning before pulling back. Okay, good. So it seems that you've maybe been following MCD and you know the personality of the stock. Sometimes stocks will move in a similar fashion for like a week straight. You might see them pop every morning for the first 30 minutes and then reverse that pop all the way back down and kind of close flat. That might be a trend for a week or two. That something like that, it doesn't last forever. So just know that if you identify that trend or a trend like that, to hop on it, right? Take advantage of that opportunity if you notice it, because it does. Stocks do move the same, or can move the same way for a certain period of time. So you're saying you like it above 238? Yeah, I mean that's clearly the resistance right there. Let's back this up to the weekly chart time frame and then change that time interval to max available. That is also what? The all-time highs, correct? So on the daily chart, a break of 238, sure, that is a break of the all-time highs, definitely tradable. I don't like MCD personally because it tends to make, actually this is a solid move right here, but it doesn't make these types of moves all the time. MCD is kind of like, it typically makes like a slower grind, like it moves up, but it like slowly grinds up. It reminds me of something like Starbucks, right? Where like, yes, it's moving up, but it's like very choppy in getting there and doesn't typically make directional moves. However, it does seem to have some momentum behind it here recently. So yeah, set your alerts at 238. Great find. That is the all-time highs. That would be a play that I would put out and identify. Gabriel, we have talked about Tesla. It was actually one of my side charts. So I'm just going to mention this to everybody that if you're just tuning into the stream, we've already talked about all of my stocks that I have on my watch list for tomorrow, as well as my side charts. If you missed that though, that's all right, because this stream is recorded. It will be live for the next 24 hours on my YouTube channel. So we'll be ending here in about 10 minutes. Just simply go back to the stream and press play, right? Watch it from the beginning. You'll get my full breakdown on it. I don't want to be reviewing it again because I'd rather take requests that we haven't talked about yet. All right, so somebody asked me, what do I think about BBW? It finished strong on Friday, but it was overbought at the end of the day. Can you cover a strong finish, but RSI is overbought? Yeah, so that is something. It's moving. It seems to be moving off of earnings. That was the catalyst for the move up. Remember that RSI, the RSI indicator is a technical indicator. Okay, earnings is a fundamental factor. It's news. So RSI does not matter in a trend that is moving on a fundamental catalyst. RSI does not matter in a trend that is parabolic. It does not matter on a stock that is moving due to a fundamental catalyst. So the fact that this RSI is overbought, it doesn't really matter, because if the earnings report was that good, then the stock price is reflecting it, right? Investors are here to buy it up and move it up higher. A really good example of this was SPY during COVID. The RSI was oversold on SPY way before we ever even hit the bottom. Well, this is the weekly chart time frame, but on the daily chart time frame, the RSI right here was oversold, but we continued to fall, continued to fall, continued to fall. And the RSI absolutely did not matter during that time frame because the market was moving down on fundamental factors, right? And that was crazy. We had like back-to-back limit downs on the market. That was a really wild time to be trading. But my thoughts on BBW, I've never actually charted this one, so I'll give it to you. Let me back it up to the weekly chart time frame. Remember, if I'm not familiar with the stock, I need to see, like, is this the all-time highs or is it not? And it's not, right? So I can see that there is some support in this area and then resistance in this area. So support here, resistance here. Where are we currently trading at? Just below that resistance after making somewhat of a larger move, right? If we're talking about this extension move from a percentage standpoint, 73% move. Now that doesn't really matter if the news is that bullish. This to me almost looks like an ascending triangle, but the only issue is that it's hard to tell where this resistance is at. Is it at 18? Is it at 18.5 where all of these daily candles are closing below? Or is it at $20, which would be a whole number for this stock? And it's tough to discern. I would say that your best bet on this might be to just wait for a break of $20, to be honest. I know that you're giving up profit margins from where it's at to where it can be. You know, you're looking at 7 or 8% there. But if this run right here is going to sustain and not reject and come down and retrace, I think it has to get up and over 20, or you want to see it consolidate here for like a longer period of time and then go. So my advice would be on BBW to set alerts at $20. That's kind of based off this weekly chart time frame support and resistance area. And then once it gets over 20, you want to see it hold 20. We already talked about Zoom, so we're going to skip that one. Let's talk about RBLX. This was a really nice range breakout right here at $78. That was such a beautiful run. Had no idea it would run all the way up to 100, but nonetheless it did. All right, so you're saying that RBLX has a bull flag possible run, had a ton of options action on it Friday. Yeah, so this is, I mean, this pullback right here following this run up is totally expected. That is something like, first of all, let's talk about 100. That's a whole number, right? 50, 100, 150, 200. That's going to be a natural point of resistance for this stock. The fact that it moved from 78 up to 100 without like hardly any pullback here, all in one go, I mean, some sort of retracement is expected. So it seems to have found support at $90 and is wanting to move back up towards that $100 price point. I'm going to use the Fibonacci retracement tool and just kind of see, you know, does it make sense for it to bounce in this area? It does, right? That's going to be your 50% retracement line as well. It did test the 61.8 fib level as well. So I'm going to flip to the 5-minute and see what's going on here. I would set a static level probably at 95 and wait for a break of that, because what you have being built is just like a general range with support around 90, resistance around 95. I mean, from these two peaks right here and then this pre-market action. So I would look for a break of 95 for the move back up towards 100. One of the first stages, you might want to write this down if you don't know it already. One of the first stages to a trend change is consolidation. So you have a move up, a little bit of consolidation where it's not really making new highs. Then you got the move down, then a period of consolidation where it's not really making new highs or lows. And then you might get a move back up, right, if this were to retrace. So set your alerts at 90. I would set my alerts at 95 for the move up back towards 100. Let's do two more, and then I'm going to call it an afternoon. If I did not get to your chart, please, feel free to message me. Sorry, we've been at this for about an hour now, So I do like charting, and I do not mind taking your requests. Um, but yeah, if you want me to chart it, let me shoot me a message, shoot me a DM on Instagram or something. We're gonna do two more though, and I'm just kind of going down the list here. So TDOC, and we've already done SQ. Let's do Walmart. So we'll do TDOC and WMT, and I'll call it an afternoon. So TDOC, you're saying that I have to get back to the daily chart here. Using the 21 EMA as support, consolidating above 150, break above 156. You're kind of going off of this whole number being treated as a support, sure. This area being treated as a resistance, so 156. I would probably say 157, just based off these wicks, right? So just move that up a dollar. And you're looking for a reversal move from here back up to the top side. I would be careful if you're trying to trade this long, just because it seems like, I mean, it's obviously coming down. So this is why I would be careful, because it's still below this 50 EMA. That's going to be your likely level of resistance. So from where it's at up to that 50 EMA, there is a possible trade there, given that there's 3.5% profit margin. But I would be like looking to take profits in that area if I were trading it. Plus, there is this minor gap area right here, so there's no guarantee that above 157 it even makes it to the 50 EMA. But you're still looking at 2.5% profit margin, which is fine for a day trade. But yeah, there's a lot of like minor resistance points overhead. You've got this gap area, you've got the 50 EMA. Then I think if it can get above the 50 EMA, you might see a move closer to the 200 EMA, and there's another gap right there. But yeah, I would be cautious on this one. Don't overextend your stay on a long position. If you wind up getting some profits here, this would be a trade where I'd probably look to take those profits. The last one I said I would do is WMT. I can tell you right now, just looking at this chart, I don't see like anything here from a technical standpoint. Can you chart? Okay, yeah. So he's just asking, or he or she was asking for my opinion on the chart, and I mean I gave it. I don't see anything here. I see a lot of chop, right? I mean it's moving up, but it's like the slowest thing ever. So I have my alert set just above or right at 145 or so. And that's just kind of based off the peak from this move up. So it made a recovery move, had a peak at around 145, and I just set my alert there. Walmart's strange, right? Because it's like BYND. It gets news all the time, but it doesn't necessarily like hold up after having that news come out. Like they'll get like partnerships with people all the time, or different companies all the time. And then that'll cause the stock to be like really hyped up and moving for a couple of days, right? Something like this, and then it just retraces the whole move back down. And then it seems like everybody forgot about the news and don't want to trade it anymore till the next piece of news comes out. And same with BYND, right? Like it'll get hyped up for a little bit and then retrace, and then hyped up and retrace, and then hyped up, and do we retrace? I don't know. That seems to be the trend. So. Yeah, I mean, from a day trade perspective, I literally don't see anything here. I wouldn't even waste my time until it breaks 145. All right, so thank you all for your time. First of all, a quick review for my watch list for tomorrow. We're going to be watching NEO, Snapchat, INTC, and Workhorse. We're going to have side chart alerts set on PLTR, SQ, Apple, AMD, Twitter, Tesla. And of course, we're going to be looking out for any news that comes out on stocks in the morning, right? And those could potentially make our watch list as well, depending on where we open up at. If you're new to the streams, thanks for watching. If you want to trade with me, there's a link in the description for you to join the Discord server. We trade live twice a week, Tuesdays and Thursdays. I should be completing my 25K challenge this week. I don't want to jinx it, but we'll see what happens. I don't know if I'm going to do another challenge after this. Some people have been asking me to, and I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do. Some people have asked me to do a 1K to 5K challenge, which I'm entertaining that idea. I'm also entertaining the idea of just continuing to grow this challenge, so I might take it from 25K to 50K. But I think that I'm going to take a little bit of time and think about it and figure out what I want to do next, and we'll go from there. But nonetheless, all of the functions in the Discord server still remain the same, right? So Tuesdays and Thursdays, we're still live trading. You're still going to get the daily watch list. I'm still going to be trading the stocks on the watch list. But yeah, I'll let everybody know what's going on with the challenge account once I decide and figure out what I'm going to do. Might pull some money out and buy myself some nice parts for the Jeep. All right, take it easy, everybody. Thank you for your time. Take care. I hope to have helped you with some analysis this afternoon, and I hope that you make some money tomorrow.